On October 9th, 2020, I left my job of 23 years for a much more satisfying position. Before I went into work that morning, however, I met up with Corvette racing photographer Richard Prince for some photographs of our 1979 Corvette and 2018 Stingray. It was an enjoyable experience made all the more exciting because the following morning, Jermaine and I would head north on another Lucifer road trip to celebrate our 30th year together. Our destination was the easternmost town in all of the United States, Lubec, Maine. Obviously, the pandemic was still in full effect, but in the fall of 2020, after checking CDC and Maine Department of Health and Human Services guidelines, I found that the trip was doable. We traveled on a Sunday, so obviously our progress was hampered by traffic and roads construction, and I wasn't able to put the hammer down to make some time until we were north of Portsmouth late in the evening, 8 hours into our trip. The progress didn't last long. After we crossed the Maine state line, we started to see lightning on the far horizon, and soon after it started to rain, and it got heavier the farther north we drove. By the time we turned off I-95 in Bangor and hit the hills, twists, and turns of routes 192, 1, and 189 that took us ever deeper into the pitch-black deserted wilderness down East Maine, the rain had turned into a horrendous thunderstorm. When we finally reached our rental house, we were exhausted from the 14-hour drive, the last two of which were in the storm, so we decided to grab a small case of toiletries and unpack the car in the morning. The next morning was beautiful. The house we rented was part of the Inn on the Wharf, a 106-year-old sardine factory that was purchased and converted into an inn and restaurant by Victor and Judy Trafford in 2006. When we walked down the hill to the restaurant the morning after the storm, the locals knew who we were and were shocked that we had driven through last night's storm in that car because it was the worst storm they had seen in 15 years. In addition to fishing, Lubec's economy relies on tourism, but in mid-October, even the absence of a pandemic, the town starts to shut down for the winter, so other than the fishermen, we seem to have the town nearly to ourselves. For the most part, we relaxed at the house, but we did take a day to visit the West Quoddy Lighthouse, the easternmost point in the United States, and the oldest 45th parallel marker in the United States in nearby Perry, Maine. Lubec is connected to Campobello Island, which is part of the Canadian province of New Brunswick by the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Bridge, and we would have loved to have taken Lucifer up into Canada, but after all, it was 2020.